Years after leaving her, the CEO walked into her cafe. Then her girl looked up and said, "Daddy?" The brass bell above the cafe door chimed softly as Marcus Chen stepped inside, his $1,000 shoes clicking against worn hardwood floors. He'd walked past this place 100 times in the past month, always meaning to stop, always too busy. Today, something pulled him through the doorway. The scent of fresh coffee and vanilla hit him first, then the warmth of fairy lights strung across exposed brick walls. But it was the laugh, bright and familiar as a half-remembered song, that froze him in place. Behind the counter, arranging pastries with careful hands, stood the woman he'd spent 5 years trying to forget, Elena. If you're loving this story so far, please hit that like button and subscribe to Trillionaire in Love for more emotional journeys. Drop a comment below telling us what you think will happen next. Your support means everything to us. Marcus felt the world tilt slightly. She looked different, softer somehow, with wisps of dark hair escaping from a messy bun, flour dusting her forearms. Gone was the polished corporate consultant he'd known, replaced by someone who seemed to glow from within, despite the tired shadows under her eyes. She hadn't seen him yet, too focused on a little girl perched on a stool beside her, swinging small legs and chattering animatedly about something involving unicorns and birthday parties. The little girl couldn't have been more than 4 years old. Marcus's breath caught. He did the math automatically, his business-trained mind calculating dates and possibilities, even as his heart hammered against his ribs. 5 years since he'd made the biggest mistake of his life. 5 years since he'd chosen a promotion over the woman he loved, accepting a position that meant relocating to Singapore, asking Elena to wait, to follow, to give up her own dreams for his ambition. 5 years since she'd looked at him with eyes full of tears and said no. "Just a moment." "I'll be right with you," Elena called out, her voice triggering a cascade of memories. Late nights working side by side, her laugh in dark movie theaters, the way she'd trace patterns on his back when she thought he was sleeping. She turned, and the smile on her face shattered like dropped glass. The tray of croissants slipped from her hands, clattering against the counter. For a moment, neither of them moved, suspended in a silence so complete that Marcus could hear his own heartbeat. Then the little girl tugged on Elena's apron. "Mama, you okay?" Elena blinked, tearing her gaze away from Marcus to look down at her daughter. "Yes, sweetie. Mama's fine. Can you go check if Aunt Sophie needs help in the back?" The girl nodded, hopping down from her stool. As she passed Marcus, she looked up at him with curious eyes, eyes that were an exact shade of hazel he saw every morning in the mirror. His chest constricted. "Hello," she said shyly. "Hi there," Marcus managed, his voice rougher than he intended. When the girl disappeared through a doorway behind the counter, Elena finally spoke. "Marcus, what are you doing here?" "I could ask you the same thing. This is your cafe." He gestured around at the cozy space, so different from the sterile corporate offices where they'd met. She crossed her arms, defensive. "Yes, I opened it 3 years ago. Bloom & Brew, it's mine. It's beautiful." He meant it. Every detail spoke of Elena. The vintage teacups displayed on floating shelves, the small library nook in the corner with mismatched armchairs, the chalkboard menu written in her distinctive handwriting. "Why are you here, Marcus?" "I moved back 3 months ago. Took over as CEO of the North American division." The words felt hollow, corporate. Nothing like what he actually wanted to say. Elena laughed, a sharp sound without humor. "Of course you did. Always climbing higher, aren't you?" The words stung because they were true. He'd gotten everything he wanted professionally. The corner office, the 7-figure salary, international recognition in his field. And he'd never been more miserable. Elena, he couldn't finish the sentence, couldn't ask the question burning through him. "Don't." Elena's voice was fierce, protective. "Don't you dare." But before she could say more, the little girl bounded back through the doorway and everything changed. She carried a small pink backpack, excitement radiating from her small frame. "Mama, Aunt Sophie said I can have the butterfly cookie because I helped clean up earlier." "That's wonderful, Lily." Elena's voice softened instantly, though her body remained rigid. Lily. Even her name was beautiful. The girl climbed back onto her stool and pulled out a coloring book. As she bent over her drawing, Marcus saw it. The familiar cowlick at her hairline, the way she bit her lower lip when concentrating, the shape of her small hands. His hands, a customer entered, breaking the tension. Elena served them with practiced efficiency, but Marcus saw how her hands trembled slightly as she poured coffee. He should leave. He knew he should leave. Instead, he found himself sitting at a corner table, ordering an espresso he didn't want, unable to tear his eyes away from the little girl who might be his daughter. When the afternoon rush subsided and Lily was absorbed in coloring, Elena finally approached his table. She sank into the chair across from him, looking exhausted. "She's mine, isn't she?" Marcus whispered. Elena's eyes filled with tears, but her voice was steady. "She's mine. I've raised her alone for 4.5 years. 4.5, Elena, why didn't you tell me?" "Tell you?" Her laugh was bitter. "You were in Singapore, Marcus. Living your dream. I found out I was pregnant 2 weeks after you left. I tried to call, but you were always in meetings, always too busy. And then I heard through mutual friends that you were dating someone there, that tech executive everyone was talking about." Marcus felt sick. "That was nothing. It lasted 3 months. I was trying to get over you. Well, I was trying to survive. Morning sickness while finishing my last consulting contract, giving birth alone because my mother was sick and couldn't travel, learning to run a business while nursing a newborn." Her voice cracked. "You don't get to waltz back in here and claim fatherhood because you finally noticed us. That's not fair. Life isn't fair, Marcus. You taught me that when you chose a job over us." The words hung between them, heavy with years of unspoken pain. Marcus wanted to defend himself, to explain that he'd thought about her every single day, that he'd realized his mistake within 6 months, but his pride had kept him from reaching out, that he'd sabotaged every relationship since, because no one was her. Before he could speak, Lily looked up from her coloring. "Mama, who's that man? He's been here a long time." Elena's face softened as she looked at her daughter. "He's an old friend of Mama's, sweetheart." "Oh?" Lily studied Marcus with the unfiltered curiosity of a child. "You look sad. Do you want to color with me? Coloring makes everything better." Marcus felt his throat tighten. "I'd like that very much." He moved to their table and Lily pushed a coloring book toward him, along with a small box of crayons. "You can color the dragon. I'm doing the princess." As Marcus picked up a crayon, his hand brushed Elena's on the table, and the jolt of connection was as strong as it had been 5 years ago. She pulled away quickly, but not before he saw it, the flicker of feeling she couldn't quite hide. They sat in awkward silence, the only sound Lily's humming as she colored. Marcus watched her, memorizing every detail, the way her tongue poked out when she concentrated, the dramatic flourishes she added to her princess's dress, the pure, uncomplicated joy in her expression. This was his daughter, his child, and he'd missed everything. First steps, first words, every precious milestone. The loss of it threatened to crush him. "She has your eyes," Elena said quietly, "and your stubborn determination. Last week she spent 3 hours trying to build a tower out of sugar cubes before she got it right." "What else?" Marcus asked, hungry for details, for any glimpse into the life he'd missed. Elena hesitated, then seemed to make a decision. "She loves math, already counting to 100. She's obsessed with space and wants to be an astronaut. She's terrified of thunderstorms, but insists on sleeping without a nightlight because she's brave. She gives half her allowance to the homeless man who sits by the park entrance." Her voice softened. "She's the best thing I've ever done. Elena, Mama," Lily interrupted, tugging on Elena's sleeve. "Can the nice man come to my birthday party? It's in 2 weeks and we're having a unicorn cake." The question hung in the air. Elena's eyes met Marcus's, and he saw the war raging within her, the desire to protect her daughter from potential hurt versus the recognition that he was Lily's father, that she deserved to know him. "We'll see." "Sweetie," Elena said finally, but something had shifted. Over the next 2 weeks, Marcus became a regular at Bloom and Brew. He'd arrive each afternoon, always ordering the same espresso, always sitting at the same corner table. He'd help Lily with puzzles, admire her drawings, listen to her elaborate stories about her stuffed animals' adventures. Elena watched it all with guarded eyes, but Marcus noticed her defenses slowly crumbling. The way she'd smile despite herself when he made Lily laugh, how she'd join their conversations more frequently. The evening she stayed after closing, and they talked for 3 hours while Lily slept on a couch in the back room, both of them carefully avoiding the big questions, but slowly rebuilding. Something fragile and important. He learned about her struggles, the loans she'd taken to start the cafe, the exhaustion of single parenthood, the gallery of her dreams she'd had to postpone. She learned about his emptiness, the success that felt hollow, the relationships that never worked, because he was always comparing them to what he'd lost. The realization that he'd traded everything that mattered for achievements that didn't. Lily's birthday arrived on a sunny Saturday. Marcus showed up with an absurdly large unicorn plushie and a smaller box he'd agonized over for days. The party was in the cafe, filled with Lily's preschool friends and their parents, and Marcus felt out of place among the easy domesticity of it all. But Lily's face when she saw him lit up the room. "You came!" Mama said maybe you wouldn't. "I wouldn't miss it for anything," Marcus said, and meant it with every fiber of his being. After cake and presents as the party wound down, Lily climbed into Marcus's lap with the naturalness of a child who'd decided he was safe. He was hers. She opened his smaller gift, a delicate silver bracelet with 2 charms, a tiny unicorn and a small star. "The star is for your dreams," Marcus said, his voice tight with emotion. "Never stop reaching for them, no matter what anyone says. Even if they're really big dreams," Lily asked seriously. Especially then. She hugged him fiercely and Marcus felt something crack open in his chest. Over her head he met Elena's eyes. She was crying silently, and he knew she'd heard the apology in his words, the regret, the wish that he could go back and choose differently. When Lily fell asleep on the couch, exhausted from excitement, Marcus helped Elena clean up. They worked in comfortable silence until Elena spoke. "She asked me yesterday if you were her daddy." Marcus's hands stilled in the soapy water. "What did you say?" "I said yes. Because she's too smart to lie to and because—" Elena's voice broke. "Because she deserves to know her father. But Marcus, if you're going to be in her life, you're in." "No, halfway. No choosing work over her when things get difficult. She's not a business deal you can negotiate." "I know that, do you? Because 5 years ago you didn't. You chose your career over us without a second thought." "That's not true." Marcus turned to face her, water dripping from his hands. "I thought about it constantly. I told myself I was doing the right thing, building a future we could share. But I was wrong, Elena. I was terrified of failing at work, of being ordinary, of not living up to my potential. So I sacrificed the extraordinary thing we had for ordinary success. And I've regretted it every single day since. Why didn't you come back? Why didn't you call? Pride, fear, shame, take your pick." He stepped closer. 1,000 times I picked up the phone. 1,000 times I convinced myself you'd moved on, that you were better off without me. And then I'd see your picture on social media, and you looked happy, and I thought that was enough, that at least one of us had figured out how to move forward. I wasn't happy, Marcus. I was surviving. There's a difference. I see that now. Just like I see that this, he gestured around the cafe, is what you were meant to do. Not corporate consulting. This place, it's you. Creative and warm and nurturing. I held you back from this. No, Elena said firmly. You made me realize I was holding myself back. After you left, I had to figure out who I was without you. What I wanted for myself and for Lily. This cafe was my phoenix moment, rising from the ashes of who I thought I should be into who I actually am. They stood inches apart. Years of hurt and longing crackling in the space between them. Marcus wanted to kiss her, to promise he'd never leave again, to beg for another chance. But he knew she needed more than words. Let me prove it to you, he said, that I've changed, that I can be the man you needed me to be 5 years ago. I don't expect forgiveness, and I don't expect you to take me back. But let me be here for Lily. Let me show both of you that you can count on me. Elena studied his face for a long moment. Okay, but we do this slowly. For Lily's sake. She's the priority here, not whatever we were or might be. Agreed. The next 3 months were the hardest and most rewarding of Marcus's life. He rearranged his schedule to be at the cafe every afternoon when Lily got out of preschool. He attended her dance recital, where she played a rather enthusiastic tree. He learned to braid her hair in lopsided pigtails and make grilled cheese cut into dinosaur shapes. He sat through endless viewings of her favorite movies and became fluent in the complex social dynamics of her stuffed animal collection. He also set boundaries at work that shocked his colleagues, leaving by 5, taking weekends off, turning down travel opportunities. His assistant thought he'd lost his mind. His board members questioned his commitment. But Marcus didn't care. For the first time in his life, he understood what actually mattered, and slowly, painfully, beautifully, he and Elena found their way back to each other. It started with lingering looks and accidental touches, conversations that stretched past midnight after Lily was asleep. The day he fixed the broken espresso machine and refused payment, she kissed his cheek and it felt like coming home. One evening, 3 months after that first encounter, Marcus arrived at the cafe to find it closed early. Elena stood outside, dressed in something other than her usual work clothes, looking nervous. "I called Sophie to watch Lily tonight," she said. "I thought maybe we could talk. Really talk." They walked to the park where they'd had their first date 6 years ago. As they sat on the same bench where he'd first kissed her, Eleanor took his hand. "I'm terrified," she admitted, "of letting you back in, of trusting you with not just my heart but Lily's. She's already so attached to you. If you leave again, I won't." Marcus squeezed her hand. "I'm not the same man who left Elena." That Marcus thought success was measured in titles and salaries. This Marcus knows it's measured in moments, in Lily's laugh, in your smile, in being present for the people you love. "I resigned yesterday." Eleanor's eyes widened. "What?" "I'm starting a consulting firm focused on helping small businesses like yours thrive. Flexible hours, meaningful work, staying local. I've already lined up 3 clients." He smiled. "Turns out watching you run this cafe taught me more about authentic leadership than any MBA course ever did." "Marcus, that's a huge risk. The biggest risk I ever took was leaving you. This is just smart planning." He turned to face her fully. "I love you, Elena. I never stopped. And I love Lily more than I knew it was possible to love someone I've known for such a short time. I want to be there for both of you, for dance recitals and sick days and ordinary Tuesdays. I want to help you open that second location you're dreaming about. I want to teach Lily about stars and take her to space museums. I want everything we should have had 5 years ago if you'll give me the chance." Elena's tears spilled over, but she was smiling. "I love you too. I tried so hard not to, but I never stopped either. But we have to do this right for Lily, whatever it takes." She kissed him then, soft and sweet and full of promise. And for the first time in 5 years, Marcus felt truly, completely whole. 6 months later, on a Saturday morning, Marcus officially moved into the apartment above the cafe, the one Elena and Lily had called home. Lily ran through the rooms, showing him her favorite hiding spots and where she kept her secret cookie stash. That evening, as they read bedtime stories together, Lily snuggled between them and looked up at Marcus with serious eyes. "Daddy?" she said. Not for the first time, but somehow this time felt different, more permanent. "You're staying forever now, right?" Marcus met Elena's eyes over Lily's head, seeing the future reflected there, expanding the cafe, maybe siblings for Lily someday. Ordinary beautiful days strung together into an extraordinary life. "Forever," he promised. "I'm never leaving again." "Good," Lily said, satisfied. "Because I love you. I love you too, sweetheart, more than all the stars in the sky." As Lily drifted to sleep, Marcus held Elena close, grateful beyond words for this second chance. He'd learned the hardest way that success means nothing if you have no one to share it with, that the corner office is just a room with expensive furniture, and that real wealth is measured in moments like these, ordinary, precious, irreplaceable. He'd walked into a cafe 3 months ago and found everything he'd been missing. Not just the woman he loved and the daughter he didn't know existed, but himself, the version of Marcus Chen who understood what truly mattered. And this time, he'd never let them go. Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched your heart, please show your support by hitting that like button, sharing this video with someone who needs to hear this message, and subscribing to Trillionaire in Love for more emotional stories that celebrate second chances and the power of true love. Drop a comment below and let us know. Do you believe in second chances? Have you ever had to choose between career and love? Your stories inspire us to keep creating content that matters. Remember, it's never too late to choose what really matters. Until next time, keep believing in the power of love.